Good morning to our beautiful Zoom room and to those who are going to be watching the recording later on at a later stage. It's wonderful that you are all here for our online masterclass on the voice that lands. And yeah, I'm Caryn, your voice teacher for this morning, and I teach voice, breath, and presence. I say that my work sits at the intersection of learning communication, embodiment, and performance under pressure. And I'm also a coach, and I work with people to find clarity and confidence and help get people towards the goals that they're setting for themselves. So wonderful, wonderful work. And this morning, we are very much talking about voice. And when I say voice, I mean how you say what you say, not what you say. We're talking about the instrument itself this morning. And that is actually a wonderful, big, broad topic. Um, and this morning I'm going to kind of give you the highlight reel, but of course it includes so much of us. It's not just like a kind of one and done thing, because it includes everything from our imaginations, to our bodies, to our breath, to our awareness, to our organs of articulation, to phonation, to flow. It's this huge, beautiful, big body of work. So I hope that you have a something to drink, something warm to drink with you. And it's a practical session. There is a bit of frameworking that I will go through, and something about the nature of sound and how the voice works in a very simple, brief voice primer, because it'll be important to kind of understand that about your voice in order to see, well, where are my next steps? How can I get the most out of my voice? But it is a practical session. So if you can, and you feel like you've got some space and privacy to explore and play and learn and grow and meet and befriend your voice, then now is the time. Now is the time. And, even though I can't see you, my heart is reaching out through the blank screen and imagining all these real breathing human beings there. Um,
Caryn, can
but
I interrupt for a second?
yes, of
Please,
course.
please, everybody, would you put your camera on? Caryn has sort of mentioned it twice. It's very difficult to talk without a camera. Please put your cameras on.
Thanks, Helene. And if you can, that would be great. If it's hard for you because of data, if it's hard for you because you can't, it's also okay. I'm doing the work on my end. Oh, hello, faces, people. That's very nice. That's great. And if you're not putting on your cameras, for whatever your reason is, use the chat. That would be amazing. So if something comes up that's interesting to you, put it in the chat. If an idea is there that you feel like, oh, I'd like to remember that, put it in the chat so we can share it and make a repository of learning and ideas and knowledge. And then at the end, there will be some time for questions. And I will refer to the chat. I will refer to the questions and the comments in the chat. And it's a good way for us to just keep track of what's interesting, of what you're thinking, of what you are learning. So, having said that, I'm going to share my screen because I sometimes think it is an easy thing to think about the voice, not as this huge, big idea. I want to just see why this is not changing. Aha, okay. So to think about the voice as these 5 voice characteristics. Now, this is by no means a complete list, but I love this list because when you start to master things on this list, you start to have what they call a captivating voice, and you know your audience is not going to be bored, and you know that your message is reaching the listener in an expressive and full way. And these are all words we understand. These are words we know what they mean. They're not too complicated. And each of these things has an exercise or 20 attached to them. And so it's a kind of way that we can start to, in a very direct way, say, these are the attributes for the speaking voice for my own magnificent instrument. And how do I start to work with and play with them? So the first one there is pace. We know what that is. That's very much the rate of speech, how fast, how slow. You can hear now, I'm kind of playing with that. And different content works differently and is better delivered at different paces. So you want to think to yourself, am I somebody who is like, does nervousness make me go very, very fast and then I'm talking very, very fast and actually that's my rate of speech? A kind of Eminem wannabe? Or are you plodding and slow? And you might get a sense of that if you're somebody who is, if people fill in words for you, then maybe you're going a bit slow. If people are asking you to repeat yourself, then maybe you're going a little bit fast. But it is a dial on which you play. Sometimes it's good to go a little bit quicker, and then sometimes one needs to slow things down. And we can be quite intentional about that. A quick, easy way to start to notice how I deliver my content and can I play a bit more with the pace. Projection. I prefer the word projection to the word volume. Projection means, can my voice leave me and reach my listener generously? So nobody's having to strain, come forward, listen. The voice should reach me generously, not too loud and not too soft either, and in whatever space. So my voice can cover the space between that small space between people just having a more intimate conversation, or a bigger room where I know my voice has to travel. And we're going to cover a little bit of this idea today. And then also online, even here on the virtual world, there is a little mic in this camera, but there is a bit of learning and questioning. How much must I project in order for the camera to pick up what it is that I'm saying and beam it out to all of you, the microphone, and beam it out to all of you wherever you find um, yourself this morning. Pausing, a real mark of gravitas and breathing. You catch up with your own thoughts, find your grounding, your anchoring. Let the audience catch their breath. Pausing is a great way to practice gravitas, confidence, and credibility. Pitch. The pitch is kind of, can my voice go up the ladder and can my voice go down the ladder? And sometimes your voice actually does need to go up the ladder, and sometimes your voice does need to go down the ladder. When they say your voice is pitchy, if you have a pitchy voice, it means your voice is maybe too high. It's like a little bit of that kind of tinny pitchiness. And then you want to be able to think about, how can I find it in voice work? We work with something. It's such an interesting thing. My optimal speaking pitch, my OSP, that there's an optimal speaking pitch for everybody's voice, which means it has enough lift and energy and sound behind it in order for it to travel and leave you clearly. So yeah, what I find interesting is that often people think that the lower pitch sounds like, yes, that's the professional tone. Take me seriously. But that actually, that voice can get very swallowed and dull and doesn't have energy and lift behind it. You actually need a full range of pitches in order to meet the different content and in order to meet the different audiences. And then pronunciation, which is clarity. Can I say the beginnings and ends of my words? And that's around your organs of articulation. They're muscles. You can exercise them and they will respond. Your lips, your tongue, your soft palate, your lips, tongue, soft palate. Those are the ones we exercise. Your jaw plays a role there. Your teeth are part of it, but of course you can't exercise your teeth, but you can play with your organs of articulation in order that your sound is clear. And it's also such an interesting journey to go on because it's not about accent neutralization. That is a very old idea that everybody has to sound a certain way. How now, brown cow, the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. No, boring. We love accents. Accents give us a sense of who is the person. When somebody brings an accent, there's something so interesting that happens about, hey, who are you? Where are you from? What's your story? Kind of a bit of context. But it does mean we need to be clear, beginning and ends of the words. So just having a look at those 5 P's, maybe pop in the chat. Which one do you think you need to work on? Which is the one that you think might make a difference to your own speaking voice? You probably have a sprinkling of all of them, but it's also probably not something you've thought consciously about. Our voice is not something we think about a lot. I mean, I'm so pleased that you're here. People will only think about their voices if they hear their voice on a voice note or some kind of recording and then think, yeah, damn, is that me? There's a big difference between how we think we sound and then how we sound. And Giselle says, all, yes. Um, so we might only think about our voices when we hear it or when we lose our voice. And then we realize, oh man, I need this. This voice is essential to how I make my way in the world. And I think it's also maybe a nice shift in ownership when you start to think of yourself as a professional voice user. When I'm going through these 5 P's and the exercises attached to them, which we're going to do in a minute, these are not exercises for like the TED talker or I don't know, the opera singer or something, a professional voice user. If you are using your voice to get your message across, to make an impact, to be successful, to be heard, you are a professional voice user, and you can learn something about your instrument that can be very helpful in being persuasive, clear, expressive, and get your message out in a way that it is intended. And people like nod and go, yeah, tell me more. That would be great. Tell me more. I like the sound of what I'm hearing. Okay, great. Just having a little look at the chat so I can see. Yep. Worried about pausing makes me sound like I don't know what to say. That's such a great, great point. I mean, all of these are. Um, Thanks for that. Because there is a difference between a pause and a gap. A gap is like, that's the scary thing. I think I might lose my next word. And I think that they think I don't know where I am. But a pause is much more held. There's something very full-bodied about it. And it remains with the breath. You stay breathing. You might stay in a little bit of easy eye contact. There might be a little bit of lightness behind the eyes that says, I am holding. I'm holding. They sometimes call it like pregnant with possibility. It's like the pause is full of something. We don't know what, but it means you're there with it. And it is something that you can practice. It's a great, great skill to hold on to and practice. Okay, so is a pause used to make the other person think? Yeah. It's used to draw somebody in, give them a chance to catch up with what it is that's already been said, you to take a breath, them to take a breath, and we kind of have a coherence again. We get back on the same page. It can be used to build a little bit of drama. It can be used to for many different purposes. Like now, I just used a pause to catch my own breath. The voice and the breath live in the body. Live in the body. So it is a very good place to start. And I want to take a beat to just become a little aware of how you are sitting. So wherever you are, don't move, like don't start to be like, oh, now I've got to be in good posture. Just take a beat to notice how are you sitting right now on the chair, your relationship to the screen, where are your shoulders, what's happening at your jaw. You're just taking a little diagnostic stroll through your body and getting aware of what's actually happening right underneath my nose. And now you can just sit in a way that you have 2 feet on the floor. That's a good place to start in terms of anchoring. Ah, there's the ground. Do a little shift. And these shifts are not to sit up straight. These shifts are for space. These shifts are, can my spine have space to be long and in its curves so that I can breathe? Can I release my shoulders away from my ears so that I'm not contracting up here in my neck, even if it's cold? So not only can my shoulders move away from my ears, but my shoulders can also move away from each other. Left to the left, right to the right. And this is just a thought. Release any pressing down you are doing on yourself. I notice this all the time that I am sometimes catch myself and I'm like, there's a heaviness through my whole musculature. I'm kind of, even tiny little bit, I'm pressing down on myself. And when I notice it, I can kind of, wow, I don't actually have to press down on myself. Let what's forward be forward and what's back be back. So coming into a kind of fullness. One YB. Yeah, let go of that tightness. Let what's forward be forward and what's back be back. And now just the thought of receiving the support that is available. What support is available for you now? And in your big speaking moments, and they might not even be big speaking moments, it's a call you have to make that maybe is causing a little bit of worry, anxiety-ish throughout the system. A very important way to start is where can I get anchored? Let my feet come to the floor. We can intercept safety from 2 feet on the floor. And a little smile across your shoulders. So you can't obviously smile with your shoulders, but you can imagine that there's this lovely wide smile across your shoulders. And what that does is just kind of open the heart a little bit. So we know that body language reads the strongest this way. We often talk about body language and what do people think when they see my arms are crossed or I look, yes, but it's also vital we read our own body language correctly. And when I put a little smile across my shoulders, 2 feet on the floor, allow length for my spine, my head is at the balancing point. So there's an easy balancing point of my head on top of my neck, little nod yes, little shake no, just to check it. I am telling my own nervous system through my body language that I have all the time I need. I am allowed to breathe. I am anchored and on the earth. It is safe. It is safe. So wherever you are now, a little breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And you're going to keep the breath moving out through your mouth until you are empty. And when you are empty, you close your lips, let the breath come back in. And on the next breath, you make the sound A, and then you close your lips at the bottom of the sound and you let the breath come in, not sucking in air. Let the breath come in and again, it's called the whispered ah. You're going to keep going a few times while I give you some things to think about. This is a lovely big open sound. So you want to think about the jaw releasing with gravity. You're not throwing your jaw open, but you want to think that there is this release at the hinge here. And that as you breathe in, your lips close, the breath drops in through the nose, and you want to think of something happy and pleasant. Carry on in your own cycle, because I'm not matching you, so I don't want you holding your breath either at the bottom or the top. Think of something happy, something pleasant, so that there is this little lift at the cheekbones or the eyes. So the doesn't feel like a collapse. There's a little up behind your eyes, a little up behind your cheekbones. And I've written here as a way to kind of guide that sound, as though fogging a window softly or a quiet sigh of recognition. And you're just playing with a little bit of releasing breath here, putting down what you don't need in terms of extra effort and stress, releasing a little bit of the jaw, and starting to play with the breath. Breath is central to voice work. It's the power source, the seat of the voice. And without good airflow, you don't have a good voice. So this whispered ah is a great little practice to practice not doing too much and allowing a full exhale, closing the lips, and the breath comes back in. Number two there, and we can try this one too. It's a totally different feeling because now you are making a fricative sound. There's a little bit of friction between your teeth and your tongue, like a hiss sound. So when you make a hiss sound, your teeth come together, your tongue kind of helps block that sound. So now the sound has to work a little bit harder to arrive at the front teeth and leave you. So it's got a little bit of support that is required from low down. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose for a count of 4. Let your belly fill with air. And you're going to kind of breathe out on encouraging a steady, controlled out breath. This would be number 2 on a practice I would give you for warming up your voice so that you are feeling like, yes, my system knows kind of how to feel ready for this. My vocal folds feel ready for this. This that you're practicing now, you need to listen to your own sound. I'm not there with you as a voice coach, but what I would be listening for is a steady, controlled exhale that doesn't start strong and then drop off and doesn't have a kind of quality. You want to be able to, without pushing out too much air, you want to use that air economically and efficiently, but, and then while you're doing this, just check in with your posture. How are your shoulders? How's your jaw? Easy at the back of tongue. Lovely. And again, if you want to just pop something in the chat about how that felt to do a couple of the breathing exercises, that would be great. So I can just see what's interesting for you, or if you have any questions there, that would be that, then that helps me. But this is the kind of thing that you would practice before a meeting, before a presentation, exactly so that you can start to feel a little bit more grounded and you are not rushing your speech. Adrenaline speeds up our sense of time. And so what will happen is we kind of can arrive at the moment and start like a horse out the gates, bolting along, and then maybe either run out of energy and exhaust ourselves, or losing that beginning moment to really get grounded and not have an out of body experience and actually think, oh, I'm here. How do I want to say what I want to say? Am I thinking about what I want to say? Can I feel grounded? So yeah, we're slowly building up a warm-up routine. And by the end of today, I want to give you an actual warm-up, like 3 or 4 exercises. I think there's 5 ideas on there that are about how can I prepare myself for using my voice in the best way. Okay. I love the analogy of saying your voice is like a toothpaste tube. And I get this analogy from the most wonderful voice teacher named Alyssa Weinzimmer. And I'm going to share it with you because I think it shares something essential that most people don't think about when you think about your voice, your instrument, your speaking voice. So with that that we were encouraging, if you had one hand on your belly, you would feel the belly coming in towards the spine on the out breath. That is the sound being supported from lower down and coming up and out. That is the nature of sound. Sound comes up and out and travels away from us, and it needs support in order to do that. So why is the voice like a toothpaste tube? I'm uncapping here. If I push the toothpaste tube from the bottom, all the toothpaste is going to come out. All the toothpaste from the bottom is going to come out through the top. I have to do something with this toothpaste now because I don't want it to overflow. That is the equivalent of supporting the voice and the breath coming from the low down muscles, the diaphragm, the pelvic floor. It kind of is like Ho! Wow! Yay! Rah! Hello! Yay! This is me supporting my voice from low down. So all the sound is coming up and out. It sounds resonant. It doesn't have muscle tension. It feels easy. If I'm trying to support my voice to come up and out from somewhere in the middle of the toothpaste tube or the vocal tract, as I'm using it as an analogy, sure, some of it goes up, but some of it also comes down. And now that energy has nowhere to go. That is not a useful direction for your voice. From a vocalization point of view, down energy is just absorbing sound. There's no projection or support that I can have there. That would be like trying to get my voice out from somewhere in the middle of my vocal tract, like my throat. Hey, wow, yo, hello. I can hear it immediately. I'm not supporting from low down. I'm straining my vocal folds. The voice sounds tinny. I'm hurting and straining the vocal folds, and there's no resonant feeling there. So, does that make sense to you? Your voice is like a toothpaste tube. This whole vocal tract needs to be open, and the voice needs to be supported from low down so that it can come up and out in that direction. We support in that direction. So, you might want to just think to yourself, kind of embed that analogy of, oh, low down. I sometimes do an exercise with people in order to get this going to say, I want my belly to come in while I'm speaking. The entire time I'm speaking, my belly needs to be coming in. That is a way of checking, is the support coming from low down, or am I trying to get my voice to come up and out and reach my listener generously? I'm trying to share my voice from the world, but I'm doing it from the middle of the toothpaste tube. And so half of the effort and energy and toothpaste is going in the wrong direction. So let's do an exercise to practice. I'm going to put up my, yes. Don't worry, the internet didn't go down. That is me playing with different ways of talking to you and with you, keep you interested, keep you with us. Okay. It's a little slow to change. We're going to practice another breath. Well, this is the best voice warm-up I think you can do for your voice. And it is a hum. Ah, thank you. Learning to warm up the hum. Now, a hum is like your best friend. And if there is one thing that you walk away with today, that is hum intentionally. Hum to make friends with your voice. Tracy and I were talking before the call, and she has a little frog in her throat from some excess mucus from a little cold. And that throat clearing is very jarring on the vocal folds. Humming is also a way to dislodge some of that mucus. It is like a gentle hamstring stretch for your voice. And in this round, I want you to practice the hum, putting one hand on your belly. One hand on your belly, and the movement you want to feel there to practice this toothpaste tube analogy is that when I am humming, my belly is coming in towards my spine. And when I've run out of breath and I breathe in, my belly inflates like a balloon. Now, you can't like make it happen. We're not marionettes, we're not puppets. But I want you just to notice for your own self what is happening. Where am I moving? Where am I not moving? Is there support there or isn't there support there? Okay, so relax your neck and shoulders. Keep your jaw slightly dropped with a small space behind your back teeth. Close your lips and gently make an sound. So in through the nose and pick a note that is comfortable for you and focus on feeling a gentle vibration or buzz on the front of your face, your lips, nose, or cheekbones. If you feel tension in the throat, you are pushing too hard. Listening to the sound of your own voice, one hand on your belly. Keep going. As you go, you might want to pick another note. Like if you do one on a you can go slightly higher. When you start to feel the buzz, and I was doing a lot of these before I jumped on this call with you, making sure that my voice was resonant and clear. I'm quite warmed up already. I can feel a lot of buzz. So just give me a thumbs up if you can feel buzz. Mm. You can play with it a bit. You can hum as if you were agreeing with something. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Is today Thursday? Are you learning something about your voice? Hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you like a nice cup of tea? Hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I'm starting to hear some of those sounds. Mm-hmm. That is lovely. That is really letting the voice flow. And as I say, it's a great diagnostic, letting the sound flow through your whole vocal tract freely and easily. And it's also a great exercise for vocal fatigue. The last little bit of humming that we can do together is hum to a song. So we don't have to all do it together now, but you might want to write that down as, oh, okay, that's a way that professional voice users, because this is fun, but it's not a game, can warm up their voice because your vocal folds vibrate 1,000 times per second. I know we think a hummingbird's wings, wow, a hummingbird's wings flap. Our vocal folds vibrate even more than a hummingbird's wings flap per second. They are the most incredible things, and they can be very susceptible to fatigue, to dry, to hoarseness. And a hum is like really befriending your voice. So without going too much into it now, if you were going to do a song, you could do like Happy Birthday, something anybody knows. You would have one hand on your belly. You would remember that the voice lives in the body. So can I also drop my shoulders and let my spine be long? And one hand maybe on your throat so you can start to feel the wonderful buzziness that's happening around your vocal folds. And then you would sing. And what I'm going for is the feeling of buzz here between my nose and my mouth. And then I know my voice is warm. When your voice is warm, it feels not sticky, it feels full, forward, flowing, flexible, um, feels good, and sounds good. So if you don't believe me, it might be something nice for you to fact check on your own. Say a piece of text, uh, record yourself, listen to it, do a couple of voice warm-ups, come back and listen to it, and see if you can detect that difference between a voice that feels full and free and forward. Um, Yeah, just debating how much I say, but that hum is a good one because it brings the sound forward in your mouth. And English is a front of the mouth language. It happens all here at the tip of the tongue, the lips, and the teeth. You actually want your voice to arrive fully here, get formed into sounds, and then leave you freely, not get lost and absorbed somewhere along the way. Okay, so vocal health is part of our whole story here. And even though maybe it's like, I know these things, I'm here to remind you that to take care of your voice is essential and the most important gift you can give yourself as a professional voice user. And what does it mean to take care of your voice? Um, it's the usual things. I mean, you could probably list them here on your own. Hydration is key. And we know that that kind of means 7 to 8 glasses of water a day. Are you doing that? You can get topical hydration and systemic hydration. Topical hydration, oh, and I want to hear more about that, Michael. Love your voice, question mark. As in, do you? Should you? What do you mean when you say that? What do you mean when you say that?
Oh, basically, enjoy your voice and not be embarrassed about it because you have a particular accent or you don't speak as clearly as other people. Just maybe fall in love with your voice. I think it'll help you talk better.
Totally. Love your voice. Yes, your voice is your
Yeah.
ally. You trust your voice, trust your thoughts, trust what you might say. And without that kind of critique, is it something that you can work with and explore and play with? Absolutely. But not from the place of, I hate it and it should sound like this, but it doesn't. From the point of view of, like any instrument, the more you practice and play with it, the more it is there to serve you, the longer it will last, the more things you can do with it. But yes, kind of leaning into the idea that my sound is unique. It says something about me, and I want to share it generously with the world. So that I think is such a great, great, great point. And maybe vocal health absolutely has something to do with intentionally saying, I love my voice. Um, on that point of hydration, you can get topical hydration is things like steaming. If you do have a cold or you're losing your voice, steaming, humidifying, the steam will reach the vocal folds directly. And staying hydrated as a whole, when the body is hydrated, then the vocal folds will receive benefits of that. But obviously, when you're drinking water, the water's not going to the vocal folds directly because you would choke. There's a different pipe for that, but you do want to think about keeping yourself hydrated and the vocal folds hydrated to avoid fatigue and hoarseness and dryness. What was I going to say about the hydration and the vocal folds? Yeah. And then it's something around if you are coming up to a bigger presentation or you feel like you're losing your voice, thinking about diet and caffeinated drinks and um, acid forming things like when we were at drama school, they would say, have your lemon water and honey. It is so good for your vocal folds. And there's kind of some debate around that because the honey does feel quite soothing and the warm water is very, very nice, but obviously it doesn't directly go to the vocal folds and the lemon juice can be quite acidic. So yeah, it's something just to, be aware of what it can do and can't do. But warming up the voice with a hum, releasing excess tension just by noticing your posture and letting the ground support you, your neck be free. Um, Watching what you eat and sleep. Sleep before a big presentation. We know how important sleep is. But when the body is repairing tissues, the vocal folds are going to receive some of those benefits, and it is essential for a healthy voice and warming up. So I'm going to give you that as a kind of just PSA, public service announcement. Remember, take care of your voices. Um, yeah. When we think about the mental side of things and the confidence side of things, many people express feeling like maybe their voice won't serve them, or maybe they won't know what to say, or the pressure of the moment, they won't be able to rise to that occasion. You know, it is a widely known thing, whether it is stage fright or a kind of adrenaline or a imposter syndrome. A lot of people feel like that, and there's so many ways in to deal with this thing, and that's part of what I do in my studio and in my work with people. But I wanted to give you the one exercise that I thought would be the most valuable, and it is so, so simple. I've taught it for years. I use it all the time. And I just feel like it is the crib notes, the shortcut to feeling a little bit more confident and calm and embodied in those high pressure moments. So when the kind of self turns inwards and we're so concerned and so worried about things, that really can feel like self-consciousness and anxiety. The self turned outward is more about connection and service. And confidence can really feel like that switch between all the energy moving inward and all the kind of attention and energy moving outward. And so the exercise to play with that is you're just going to think about putting a star in the corner of your room, each corner. So there are 8 corners and 8 stars. And you're going to literally do that. You're going to put a star in that corner of the roof and floor, of the floor and wall, of that corner, 8 stars that you kind of consciously put out into the space that you're walking in or sitting in. It works if you're online. It works if you're walking into a room, if you're giving an interview, if you're leading the interview, if you're being interviewed. You think about putting a star in each corner of the room and just see it twinkling there, even as you're carrying on with your content or listening to somebody, seeing the stars twinkling there. It creates a kind of expansion and that outward self focus, filling the space with connection. So even as we're sitting here now, just thinking about the stars and what that does to your energy and to your breath, and we're going to practice using that in putting it on a little bit of text. So like there's some ideas there about the vocal health, humming, vocal naps, all of that. So this is a line from a beautiful book called My Grandmother's Hands. And we're gonna say this line out aloud. And you're going to keep the idea of the stars in the corners as a way to not zoom in to just this contact. Oh, what is this line? And how am I going to say it? And can anybody hear me? And the focus is getting all pulled between things that are not conducive to the feeling of presence, the feeling of confidence in that kind of calm and anchored way. So I've put there, I paused, I breathed, and then I spoke as a way to remind yourself that's actually part of the text. That's actually part of how you show up. You pause, you breathe, and then you are going to say out aloud, thinking about your corners. Maybe you even have one hand on your belly, so your belly is coming in towards your spine as you do it, and you're practicing that support from low down, and it's going to sound like this. Few skills are more essential than the ability to settle your body. If you can settle your body, you are more likely to be calm, alert, and fully present, no matter what is going on around you. So I could feel my attention was like, oh, wait, my hand is coming in. I'm trying to read the text. There are my stars. So it takes a little bit of practice to get kind of a unified field of attention that you can pause, that you can breathe, that the belly has to come in, and you're aware of this kind of expansion. Okay, are you ready to play? Good. So those of you that I can see, and I'm assuming the rest of you are nodding too, come onto your sit bones. And Dean, I can see you, so unfortunately you're in my line of teaching vision. Yes. The difference between coming onto your sit bones and kind of being on your tailbone, there's a big difference there. Onto the sit bones. And I don't have to hear you. You can hear yourself. One hand on your belly in your own time. And actually, I think you should say that first line so that you're directing yourself. I paused, I breathed, and then I spoke, and you do that. And then the first line, that little paragraph, read it thinking of your stars, thinking of your belly, and just see how that feels. Few skills are more important, are more essential than the ability to settle your body. If you can settle your body, you are more likely to be calm, alert, and fully present, no matter what is going on around you. If you're done, you can have a go again. Maybe foreground one of the things we're talking about. The pausing, the breathing, the support, the stars, the smile across your shoulders. Something that's going to give this a different flavor to how you might usually use your voice in a speaking moment like this. And then a breath in and a sigh out. We haven't done anything for your organs of articulation, but we can't, I don't know, what do they say about Rome? Build it or conquer it or something, but you can't do that to Rome in a day. So we'll keep it simple for our time now. But what I would like you to think is that there is a release at the jaw. So as you're speaking, you're not tensing up at the jaw. There's a softness there in your face and a lightness in your eyes. All right, let's come back to our group. I paused and then I breathed and then I spoke. Lovely. So maybe what is a good way just for us to wrap up, and then I can open for some questions, is to say that the voice is a whole wonderful journey. There are everyone, unless God forbid there's physical damage or neurological issues, everyone is capable of sounding amazing. And you can have a few quick wins and learn some interesting things about your voice and see that that makes a difference almost immediately. You obviously have to be using it intentionally. Or you go on a longer voice journey, which is a whole process of kind of coming out in a way, a fullness to all of it, your breath, your body, your imagination, your posture, your poise, the way that you build rapport and connect. These are all skills that you can practice and enjoy and kind of get better at. But maybe as a way to kind of just think about today, what were 2 or 3 of the things that you took away that you can think about going forward that you can use? And maybe pop those in the chat or write them down for yourselves so you don't forget them. And maybe a voice wish. How do you wish you sounded? What do you want more of? And when you start to tune into that, you can hear other people's voices. I like that. Why? I don't like the sound of that voice. Why? We are very drawn to the musicality of voices. It's kind of why even, you're watching a band or some live music, even though everybody's an amazing instrumentalist and part of the band, and we could watch all of them, most people watch the singer because the human voice is the most incredible and we are drawn to it. And so when you use your voice in a way that draws people in and makes people think, go on, you're already playing in blue waters. Most people don't get there. They don't take their voices seriously or don't even understand that you have capacity to play with and think about your voice in these ways. Great. So I'm going to read out some of these comments, and in our time now, maybe if there are questions, I can answer some of them. If we don't have time for all of them, then maybe we pick it up at another time. But as I'm reading through these, please put in the chat, what did you think about differently? What can you practice? What are your takeaways? Yeah, so I felt grounded. When should I be doing these exercises? So if you're building a ritual of preparation, a kind of way to prepare yourself, you could be doing it for a few minutes every day. If you're working towards something specific, this is something that needs to be done when you have time and space and you're alone. It's not something while you're sitting there and waiting, I'm now doing my and my breathing. But consistency yields results because the more the body remembers what it feels like to be primed, to be available, to be lengthened instead of constricted, to be breathing, it's easier to return to that place. So I guess a few minutes every day, really. And that's reminding me I must not show you the slide for the warm up. So I will get there. I get anxious because I may forget the content of my talk. Absolutely. That's a very common feeling of like, how am I going to have it all in my head and the what ifs and the doubts? And again, the anchoring The pausing is a way for things just to collect themselves. You know what it is that you want to say, but the adrenaline, the heightenedness of the moment can kind of interrupt all the synapses, and it needs a pause and it needs a breath and it needs a reminder to the whole nervous system that the enemy is not in this room. And the message is the message, and the people here want to hear it. And then you drop into something a little bit more around connection as opposed to performance. But these are all things that you can there are lots of ways that you can think about and play with them. Peter says, I'm a tour guide, and depending on the size of the group, I always build up the anticipation of what I'm going to do, especially if it's technical work. I've been at it for 30 years. I build up a hype, and getting into the tour, there's always an adrenaline rush. If this takes over, we rush at the start, and then we start to outthink and lose track. So we need to break the flow of what we are presenting. I love that. That is all the wisdom right there. Because of course there's the adrenaline and the enthusiasm, and you want to create the hype and the build, but that cannot be what takes over. That has to be one of the many modes, tones. If you think again about music, there are the chorus and the bridge and it has to have all of it available. And if you as a tour guide are kind of amped to the point of like, wow, let's go, and it kind of happens at that frazzled speed, we actually lose connection with what we're trying to say, with what we're trying to do, miss moments that in retrospect, like, oh, I could have said that, and that person asked that question, and we could have taken a moment to breathe. Everybody wants to take a moment to breathe. So yes, breaking the flow of that so that you're not overtaken by the enthusiasm and the adrenaline. I can ground myself great, ground myself before talking, and the pauses. I've been told since primary school my voice is too soft. I realize it's supporting my voice from down below. Yes, yes, and yes. There could be a few things there, but that thing of like bringing the belly in underneath you, that is like the real trampoline of the voice. When you want to get higher on a trampoline, that trampoline has to go down and up and down and up, and you can really support the voice from nice and low down. I'd
Hi,
like a, Mhm.
apologies, Karen. I just had a question. I don't know if we're at the point of questions yet. Apologies about that. There's a reflection here.
This
Um,
is totally the time for questions, and thank you for interrupting me because otherwise I'm just going to talk until the last moment. Go for it.
Okay, absolutely. So on my end, I have been a speaker on some occasions, spoken for Outsurance, Hastings Direct, United Kingdom, but obviously here at the office branch and a few other speaking engagements, but really haven't gained that much traction at times when speaking to an audience. Obviously you do have your topic and you do need to make an impact, right, in your overall message. However, in terms of eye contact and having that, your voice is, since here you are, I believe the vocal projection is correct and it relates to the message, that you're putting across. But however, in terms of body language and eye contact, that's something I'd like to work more on, because I think I've mastered the vocal projection. But however, when you're looking at your audience and you're talking to them, people can relate by the way you look at them, by the way you look at them. And I sometimes find that could stem from a place whereby I might lose my train of thought within the talk, and I sort of just lose that touch. How does one maintain that, and just to keep that constant focus within your speech? That's just one question. The second question is just to see how maybe after these sessions I can enter into some sort of mentoring with you, as part of the orget, or somehow you can just be a coach to me in terms of speaking, because I think in the upcoming years I do want to take this further as a profession.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I hear you saying that there's already so much that you're doing really well, Carabello, and you can feel that your voice is reaching the audience. You have dynamics of your voice. you've spoken to many different groups and people and it's going well, you're asking yourself, what is the gap? Why is this not gaining traction? And how can I get better at this thing that I'm actually quite good at and love and want to do more of? And you've identified an issue around the physical presence more than the vocal presence. And how do you practice it, really was your question. So to answer your second question, yes, get in touch with George or Jet, and we can definitely do some coaching there. But to practice it now for yourself, that body awareness is absolutely something that you can get more skilled at and grow. It's about finding a kind of ease and structured movement within yourself so that it's not moving that looks like, excuse me, nervousness and adrenaline. It's moving that supports the message. And what I will say to clients who are sometimes working on a very particular presentation, annotate your presentation, meaning you actually mark in there the moments you want to practice stand still, move stage left, pause, look up, take a beat,
Yeah.
gesture with my left hand, include the slide, look back, and you're actually writing into the script so that when you're looking at your notes down, that is part of how you are choreographing a full vocal and physical delivery. But yes, and it would be something that we could rehearse beautifully here, and I'm sure you'll get benefit from that. Let's take one or two more questions. Otherwise, I can keep reading from the chat and see what else is coming out there. Anybody else want a little hands up chat? Yes, Ellis. Ellis, you're on mute. Is Ellis talking to us or is he on the phone? No. Okay. Anybody else? Great, Talia.
Thank you. I actually put my question up as a written question,
Thank you.
but I would just like to ask you in person, and excuse my voice is a little bit coldy at the moment. So I'm the one who said that I've always been told that my voice is too soft since primary school. And I think that the issue of projection and using the lower part, a part of the body is part of it. But I also have possibly a sort of a more emotional side of that, and that I feel that if I'm speaking louder, that maybe sounds harsh or more masculine. Sorry, I just want to just tell my client, have a seat. I'm just in a meeting that's going to finish in a few minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Close the door. Yeah, close by itself. Sorry about that. So I have a sort of a feeling that if I'm going to be speaking in a louder voice or a stronger voice, I'm going to sound more masculine, less feminine. It's not, in inverted commas, pretty, and I need to find some way that I can still project while still feeling that I'm giving a sort of something more in keeping with my personality, which is a gentle personality.
Yes. Beautifully said. And certainly in this question online, you do not sound too soft. So you are doing something right, that the mic is picking up your voice nice and clearly. It does sound supported. Often when it's too soft, there's too much breath and there's not enough voice on the breath. But you actually sounding like there is enough voice and breath coming out together at the same time. And you're saying, and so I'm just sort of questioning whether you're still getting that feedback about being too soft. And maybe one-on-one that's absolutely perfect. And there are instances when there's more people that you might need to be louder, which would require kind of stepping beyond what you're already doing with your voice.
It's more in terms of that, if I am giving a talk to, I just put on my camera, if I'm giving a talk to an audience, so one-on-one, I think that's fine. I'm normally sitting close to the person, but let's say in a setting of even a group of people and I'm sitting near the back and I need to ask a question, or giving a talk to a group of people that I'm not able to then
Yes,
make that
totally. I hear
louder.
you. Yeah. It's these, we all have these habits. It's like how we then identify my voice is like this because my personality is like this, and I don't want to sound too bossy or demanding or aggro. And a lot of that actually we can do a little reality check on, because the people hearing it won't hear what you're assuming they will hear, which is that's not feminine. That doesn't have the kind of warmth aspect. I still want to sound warm. One can definitely have volume and take up space with your voice without stepping into kind of something more aggro, because the voice is this whole dynamic thing. And so if you go for volume with no tonal change and your voice sounds monotone, that does sound kind of angry and maybe not what you're going for. If you're going for volume, but you know how to go up the ladder and down the ladder, the voice can really still sound feminine and warm, without sounding maybe not those things. So there may be slightly different ways for you to think about it, and test your premise. Test your premise. If I do speak louder, do I get people looking at me like there's somebody else in the room? I've changed seats with an interloper. No, it is still me. There's lots of things I can say on that, Talia. Our voice goes where our eyes go. So if you're in a group of people and you're looking around, the voice will kind of calibrate according to who's there. If I'm looking down, or if my kind of whole energy is within this kind of very small bubble of personal presence, that is where my voice is going. But if I'm thinking about this up and out, my eyes are guiding my voice, maybe gestures guiding my voice, I have correct support of my voice, and I've checked my assumption around a female voice sounds like this and a male voice sounds like that, there's a lot more freedom to play there. Everyone, you are all wonderful voice users. Go hummingbirds into the rest of your day with hydration as your best friend. If you want to know more, here is my let me just share this. Sorry. Let me find my way to share and just show you this before I go. Oh, but I can't because it's disappeared. Sorry. Anyway, it was just my contact details. You can find me on Instagram, Caryn Katz. You can go to my website, carynkatz.co.za, or reach out through Jet, and they can direct you to me for some more questions you might have on your voice, or if you want to work together, that would be wonderful. And then also on the slideshow, I know they are going to send out the slide deck, which is great, because I didn't get to share with you the voice warm-up that we've actually done together today. I've put it in an order so you can see the breathing happens, the buzzing happens, the humming happens. This is some supportive thinking that goes underneath it in order to support the voice up and out, and that is there for you to enjoy. So I think that's us. We are at 10.